In April 2024, the United States launched over 100 cruise missiles into the Middle East. The price of oil barely moved. American households paid $4.18 for a gallon of gasoline that same week. The official explanation is that markets had already priced in the conflict. But markets do not price in wars. They price in who pays for them. And that is not the same thing. And someone decided that. By the end of this video, you will understand the exact mechanism that transfers the monetary cost of American military action onto ordinary American households, while China captures the economic opportunity. It is called the Cantillon Effect at a geopolitical scale, and it is hiding in plain sight. Your grocery bill is not higher because of supply chain disruption. It is higher because the dollar that pays for American weapons loses value each time a new one is printed. Your savings account earned 5% interest last year. The dollar inside it lost 7% of its purchasing power. A purchase you made in 2021 costs 34% more today. Your employer reported record profits in 2023 while telling you raises were unaffordable. This is not an accident. This is a system. And this video is about how it works. The mainstream explanation for American military spending is straightforward. The United States maintains global security. It polices the sea lanes, underwrites the alliances, and deters the adversaries. In exchange, the world accepts the dollar as its reserve currency. That is the deal. Oil is priced in dollars. Wheat is priced in dollars. Debt is issued in dollars. When any nation anywhere on Earth buys energy or services a debt, it first needs dollars. That demand, that permanent, structural, global demand, is what gives the United States something no other country has: the ability to print the money it needs to pay for its wars. And for a long time, that system worked. The United States spent. The world absorbed the dollars. Inflation stayed manageable. From 1971 to 2000, the U.S. defense budget grew from $85 billion to $294 billion. Yet the dollar remained the uncontested anchor of global trade. That is the visible layer, a system that looked like geopolitical generosity. But underneath that layer, a different mechanism was always running. The mechanism that makes this possible is called the Cantillon Effect at a geopolitical scale, and it is hiding in plain sight. The Cantillon Effect is a 300-year-old observation by economist Richard Cantillon. Its logic is simple. When new money enters an economy, it does not distribute evenly. It flows first to those closest to the source. Defense contractors receive the first dollar. Their suppliers receive the second. By the time that money reaches a school teacher in Ohio or a warehouse worker in Texas, its purchasing power has already been diluted by the inflation created upstream. That is the domestic version. You already live inside it. But in 2024, the Cantillon Effect is operating at a geopolitical scale that Cantillon himself never imagined. Here is the architecture. The United States funds its military operations through debt. The Federal Reserve purchases that debt through bond markets. New dollars enter the global financial system. Those dollars drive up the price of energy, commodities, and inputs globally. American households absorb the inflation. Meanwhile, China, which is not funding this conflict, is positioned to collect the opportunity cost. While American capital is consumed in military expenditure, Chinese capital is being deployed into Iranian oil infrastructure, Central Asian rail networks, and Gulf sovereign wealth partnerships. The Belt and Road Initiative was not a trade program, it was a Cantillon position. China does not need to win a war. It only needs to wait for the monetary cost of the war to be paid by someone else. Here is the number that changes everything. Between 2003 and 2022, the United States spent $8 trillion on post-9/11 military operations. That $8 trillion was not taxed from American citizens. It was borrowed, and the interest payments alone now exceed the entire annual U.S. defense budget. In plain English, the United States is paying more to service the debt from its last wars than it costs to run its current military. That number is almost never discussed in mainstream coverage, because discussing it would require naming the mechanism. This is why your groceries cost more when a missile is fired in a country you cannot find on a map. And the numbers, the ones that describe where China actually moved while America was bombing, are larger than you think. Let us be precise about what China has actually done. In 2023, China signed a 25-year cooperation agreement with Iran, worth an estimated $400 billion. It covers oil, infrastructure, and telecommunications. China is now Iran's largest trading partner, purchasing discounted sanctioned oil while American consumers pay market prices at the pump. That is not geopolitical strategy. That is applied Cantillon economics. While the United States expends monetary capital to maintain pressure on Iran, China is converting that pressure into discounted energy. The sanctions that America designed to isolate Iran have created a two-tier oil market, and China is on the better side of that split. Now, consider what this means for your financial life. The dollar you hold loses value when new dollars are created to fund military operations you did not vote for, in a conflict whose economic benefits are being captured by a competitor economy. That is not an accident. That is the system operating as designed. Understanding this does not make you a conspiracy theorist. It makes you someone who reads the incentive structure instead of the press release. The Strait of Hormuz is not a military choke point. It is a monetary one, and China just bought the toll booth. Most people will never understand why their savings lost value during a war they were told was being won. You now do.